Hello and welcome to today's video all about SQL Server this time. Today we're looking at installing SQL Server 2019, which is the latest release. We've got many different options for installing, different platforms nowadays. So I'm going to start on the SQL Server download page on Microsoft.com and just give a quick overview of what we can do. First off, the traditional, let's say, way of doing things, SQL Server 2019 on premises. You can use this link to get a free trial. This is the evaluation version of SQL Server. This will run for 180 days, runs on Windows, and you can pretty much try out all the functionality. Everything is included in there, but it is for 180 days only. As well as Windows, of course, you've got the cloud, and of course, you've got the Azure platform. SQL Server 2019 will run on there, and what you get in Azure is different managed services for databases. So what they've done is actually given you a very small sort of questionnaire where you can answer a couple of questions, and it will determine what service that is best for your objectives. So we'll quickly check that out now. We'll click on that link. So the first off, high-level question, what would you like to do? Do you want to support modern cloud applications, or do you want to modernize an application, either retaining the current SQL Server version that you're using or actually adopting the newest one? We'll go for the top option first, see what we get. Another question, how would you characterize your expected consumption of compute resources? So again, have we got unpredictable usage? Or are we going to have very, very predictable high utilization? We'll choose unpredictable, see what we get. And the recommendation here is Azure SQL Database Serverless, which is a new option. The key point here is, based on the questions that we answered, it automatically scales compute. So if you're using very unpredictable workloads, this is probably the way to go there. Click reset, we'll go back, we'll choose some of the migration options. This time, migrate or modernize an application retaining the current SQL Server version. Do you require operating system access or control? We'll say yes, because if you need operating system control, then you're looking at infrastructure as a service. The option for that, running SQL Server on an Azure virtual machine. We'll go back and we'll answer differently to that question. So this time, no, don't require OS access. What changes can occur? Connection string changes okay, but no database or application code changes. Both connection string and minimal database or application code changes are okay. We'll select that. What SQL Server capabilities do you require? I'm going to select all. So we basically want version retaining. We want all of these capabilities and functionality. How much storage do you require? Less than 8 terabytes, let's say. And it's recommended SQL Server on Azure virtual machine, or Azure SQL Managed Instance. So it's given us two choices to have a look at. So definitely when we're looking at using cloud platforms, we can answer these quick questions, have a look at the links that they suggest to decide what service is best for us. Now, if we scroll down back on the download page, we can actually download free specialized edition. I keep mentioning that I'm from Yorkshire and love free stuff, absolutely. So when it comes to SQL Server, two options that we have. SQL Server 2019 Developer Edition. So Developer Edition will allow you to use SQL 2019 in a non-production environment. So you're going to use that for development, you're going to use that for test, you're not going to be using production data. This is completely free to use, and it is very, very close to enterprise, pretty much in terms of features. You get absolutely everything, and it's free. The key point, though, is you're not allowed to use this in production. And another point as well is that when you're running Developer Edition in non-production, if you're using Standard Edition in prod, you're going to have some features and functionality and certainly performance differences in your dev area compared to production. So just be wary of that. We also get SQL Server Express, which is a very, very lightweight version of SQL Server. It's very limited. You don't get things like SQL Server agents, and your databases can only be, I think it's 10 gig. So again, that might be useful, and you can use it in production. So whereas developer was strictly non-prod, yeah, Express, you can use that anywhere. So if you need a very, very small footprint for your SQL servers, you don't need things like SQL Agent, yeah, you might want to use SQL Server Express. And of course, in this day and age, SQL Server is most definitely a multi-platform product. SQL 2017 came out with support for Linux, and SQL Server 2019 certainly carrying on that trend. So we got the options here. We can run SQL Server on Windows or as a virtual machine in Azure. If we check those out, yeah, install on Windows, or we can deploy straight to Azure using a virtual machine. But then we get Linux capabilities. If we click on the installation setup, we can see that we can actually install SQL Server 2019 on Red Hat Enterprise, Ubuntu, SUSE, all of these. Fantastic multi-platform support, and of course containers, which are becoming more and more popular. And in here we can take a look. Yeah, we can pull and run SQL Server on a Windows container on Docker, or use a Linux container. Very, very multi-platform. And then finally on the page we get the links where we can download some SQL Server tools and connectors. Management Studio used to be included in the installation for SQL Server, not anymore. They've pulled that out, so you can download that separately. SQL Server data tools for a development environment. Data migration assistant, so if you're looking to move from on-premises to the cloud, you can use that. SQL Server Migration Assistant for Oracle, so if you're a multi-billionaire and running Oracle, you might want to move to SQL Server, why not? You can use that tool. And then finally Azure Data Studio, which is a multi-platform tool, lots of extensions available for it, really, really fantastic tool. If you've not used it, please check it out. And then on here we've got the various connectors for SQL Server. So that's a quick overview of the options that we get. Which one you should try? Do you know what? In all seriousness, all of them. I would definitely have a look at the different platforms. We're very much working in a multi-platform world these days, so go and have a look. In here, we've got all samples for code and things like that, so you can really get hands-on with using SQL Server on Linux or SQL Server in containers. And of course, the cloud. Definitely go have a look at the cloud options for SQL Server. That's all for this video. In the next videos, we'll have a look at some installations and things like that. But until then, I will see you next time.